Welcome back to Steadfast Strength, the Mom Fitness Podcast. Today I have another coach from our gym here in Arlington, Hannah.
Hi, welcome everyone. I am so excited to be here with Kelsey, and we're going to be talking about self-care.
Self-care for moms.
It's a beautiful life. It's a beautiful life. All the little things, all the good dreams. I just wanna be in a beautiful every sunset, every sunrise, every new breath, every goodbye, all the mountains, the adventures, every moment. It's a beautiful life.
Yeah. Okay, so self-care, from carving out alone time, finding ways to recharge. We want to talk through these things. We're going to give some maybe like experiences, examples of ways that we do it, and then practical strategies. So I feel like, like becoming a mom, super stressful.
Yes.
I was just telling Andy last night that like when I was pregnant with Oakley, I was so excited, I waited for this time period my whole life. And then like at baby showers and stuff, like experienced moms would be like, oh, you're never going to sleep again. Like, I mean, like it was like their exhaustion was just like spilling out of them.
Yeah.
I'd be like, you are like totally stealing my joy right now. Like I'm so excited for what is about to come. And now being on the other side of it, like a mom, I find myself struggling with the same things. Like I feel like I gotta warn them, like what's gonna happen when they have kids. Like they're gonna be so tired. It's so hard. Like I feel like no one told me, which isn't true. Like I just was excited, and
Right.
and being a mom is like the best thing ever,
Yes.
and it's hard.
And it's hard.
Yeah,
And that's okay.
yeah.
It can be good and hard.
It can be good and hard at the same time.
It's not hard. It's not the same as bad.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, so I feel like becoming a mom, like that is like I wanted to be a mom. I have a kid. I want to do everything perfect. I'm like focused on raising this like excellent child and being the best mom ever, which is a whole nother thing. And then there's like all these other things that I'm trying to pursue, like my career and hold on to my identity as myself. So tons of stuff happening. And then self-care, like,
Yeah.
I think back to being newly married or single even, and like all the things that I could do. Like full days of just reading and writing.
And you just took it for granted then.
Yeah. And like I felt great. And and so then like self-care, it seems like, is one of the first things to go. And is also something that maybe feels guilty. Like that there's a guilt feeling with when you start to experience
sometimes.
Have you ever experienced that? Or like what was your experience becoming a mom?
Yeah. So I didn't really like think about becoming a mom. It was just like the next step to do. Like that was just what we were going to do. And I didn't really know what to expect. I just thought, keep working and kid goes to daycare and just, keep having kids. And you kind of don't realize how much time it takes because you want to invest in them. You want to spend time with them. And also you have to like run your household, and there's things that have to get done at home. And you have to keep a relationship with your husband, and you should try to keep a relationship with your husband.
Yeah, well, and everyone says like put that first,
Right.
And then there are like the practical realities of like, okay, but my kid like needs food.
Right. Right. Yes. And I think it's so hard to like with all of the social media and all of the stuff online and all the books that we have access to nowadays. Like, I don't know what it was like for my parents' generation or older generations, but like we're just bombarded with self-care, 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 or like, you're not a good mom if you're not working. You're not a good mom if you're not staying at home. You're not a good mom if it's like just constant
Yeah.
comparison, and you should be doing this, you should be doing this. And that's
Yeah.
really hard.
I was telling Andy last night, we went on a date and I was saying, you don't even understand. Like, if I let my kids have something with dye in it, bad mom. Like, if I exceed the screen limit for the day, bad mom. If I don't get enough hours outside, bad mom. Like, like it's like this checklist of things that's like, okay.
And it's not even like you're actually keeping track, but mentally you are, because like, oh, you saw a reel, or oh, you saw an article, and it's like you just are filing that away in your head. I mean, at least I have stuff in my head that I'm comparing myself against all the time.
Yeah, subconsciously.
And it's such a mental challenge.
Yes.
With that.
Yes. Okay, so that was your journey to motherhood.
Sure.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Okay, I skipped a huge part of this. Okay, we're coming back to self-care, but this is Hannah. She coaches at the gym. I didn't even let you introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, what you are, a mom and a wife, and you have a lot of identities. So share a little bit about who you are.
So I am a mom. I am a wife. I am Hannah. I coach at the gym here with Kelsey. I used to work, when we started having kids, I was working full time. And I worked at the same job for like 10 years, and then made the complete opposite switch to stay at home mom full time, which is where I'm at right now, a couple years into it. And that was such a hard switch, but it's been so awesome, but it's taken a lot to get there. And I like self-care plays a huge role in that.
Yeah. Okay. Discussion. Yeah. We need to dive into that more. And oops, sorry. Hannah, how did we meet?
I started coming to your free classes.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what I thought. But I couldn't studio.
I can't remember if someone introduced us or if you just came because you saw something.
Well, one of my friends told me like, hey, this really awesome girl moved to town and she puts on these free workouts at the track. You should come sometime. And I'm like, I don't know. I was kind of like working out at the Y, but I had 2 kids at that point. My youngest was a baby. And so I was like, I don't know. And then I came, it was fall, so it wasn't at the track anymore, thank goodness.
Yeah.
It was up at the dance studio.
Yeah.
So
okay, cool. Yeah, so I wanted to make, like, just for the background, to know that, like, Hannah's been one of the day ones here in Arlington.
Yeah. Emmy was once when I started coming. So that's been like 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so funny to think how much time has happened. But Hannah's been along for the journey. So yeah, she started when I was, before the gym was open, coming to Saturday classes. Yeah. And then has gotten like to where she helps me run the gym now. So it's like a fun friendship story and all of that. But anyhow, so that's Hannah. Back to self-care stuff, the journey. Tell us how like you prioritize self-care and why that's become important to you.
Yeah. So like I mentioned, I was working full-time and then switched to stay-at-home mom full-time, and which is also a lot of work. I'm not downgrading that at all, but I'm like a type A person.
Yeah.
And I think you can relate to this. Yeah. Like I like to have routines. I like to have structures. I like to know what my day is going to be. And I am also an introvert. So I like alone time to like recharge. And so when I was working, I would get that. I would get quiet time in the car. I would get quiet time on my lunch breaks. My job was basically in an office by myself. So it was pretty like structured every day. I would have quiet time every day, and then I could come home, and like our nights were a little bit hectic because, working full time with kids is hard to manage. But switching to stay at home full time was like the rug just got pulled out from under me.
Yeah.
There's no structure unless I make it.
Yeah.
There's no quiet time because there's always kids around.
Yes.
There's no, like, I can't eat alone. I can't go to the bathroom alone.
Yes.
I don't get 5 minutes to drive alone.
Yes. That is something that I struggle with because I value being at home with my kids.
Yes.
So much.
Yes.
And I value structure and routine.
Yes.
So much. And I value like the pace of being able to do what we want when we want. But too much of that is like way too much for me. Like then I feel like I don't know what we're supposed to be doing.
Yes. Yes. I agree with that.
And I feel that because I'm at home, it feels to me not as worky as like we have to get out the door, we have to get to childcare, I have to get to my job.
Right.
But the emotional expenditure every day of being at home is so high
Yes.
to me. And I think what you're saying about like being an introvert too, like sometimes I envy Andy's car time, and
Yeah.
not to say that he's not working hard. Like I know he's like
Right.
pedal to the metal when he's out of the house, but
Right.
like the value systems are maybe different. Like I'm not bringing home money,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm still expending a lot of energy, you know,
Yes.
and I don't get
Yeah.
those refuel moments as much
Yes.
with the stay at home. So anyhow,
Yeah.
keep going.
Yeah. Not having the rhythms and structures just naturally built into my day as a working mom was really hard. And I felt like, let me back up. I feel like self-care on social media and just in general when people talk about it might not have like the full value that I think it has.
Okay,
You know,
cool.
Like
Yeah.
on
Give it-
social media, it's like bubble baths and chocolate and wine and like treats for yourself. And my version of self-care was like, I need to establish some rhythms so I can function and feel less stressed and be more present and find some sense of accomplishment, some sense of joy in the day. Like I want to enjoy being home. I want to enjoy time with my kids. Like this is a privilege to get to do this, but in order for me to get to that point, I need to like set some rhythms.
Wow, that's really like insightful to me, because that takes a level of self-awareness to know that.
Yeah.
And I feel a lot of us just don't know that about ourselves. We see something and it's like, this is what self-care is. This is what I need to do. I will try that. Okay, maybe it doesn't work, you know, but
Yeah.
you knew that for you, like getting alone time, structure was going to give you that peace and
Yeah.
restoration.
And I think self-care is different for everyone. So self-care, like for one person might be, okay, I need to take a shower every day to feel like a human.
Yeah.
Great. I
Yep.
need to, or I want to enjoy a glass of wine every night with my husband. And then that's my self-care.
Yep.
That's wonderful.
Yep.
For me, my self-care is more like, I need to have these rhythms in place that my kids know what's going on, that I know what's going on,
Yes.
so that we can communicate more clearly. There's less stress.
Yep.
And then I'm not anxious about, you know,
The unknown. Yeah.
I know
whatever.
the
Yeah.
kids go off the rails or are losing their minds. Like I'm not also losing my mind because there's just chaos. There's, you know,
Yeah. How did you learn this stuff about yourself? Like, how did you discover your self-care?
a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
I feel like at the beginning was hard because when I quit my job, I was pregnant. So that's another level. Like I had just had a baby maybe a month after leaving my job. And so postpartum and then having a young toddler at home. And then my oldest was only a preschooler. So like we had a lot of, they were younger years.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was,
A lot.
it was a lot.
Yeah.
And I think there's been some great books I've read. There's been some great people on Instagram that I follow. Not all social media is like bad. You know, there's
Yeah,
been some
yeah.
awesome resources that I found out there that have helped me like see different sides of things, or like book recommendations that kind of give insight into like, okay, this is why things aren't working, or this is why I'm feeling the way I am, or like
Yeah.
some tips and tricks to like
Survive.
improve self-care.
Yeah. Okay, so I know you gave me a list of some things that worked for you, so maybe I can publish those somewhere
Yes.
after this. Cool. Yeah. But are there a few that stick out to you that you would call attention to?
Yeah. So, well, right off the top of my head is the 1,000 Hours Outside.
Mhm.
And I somehow stumbled onto that going down like a homeschool rabbit hole. That's a whole nother conversation. But 1,000 Hours Outside, it's by Ginny Urick. And she has this page and she posts so much awesome, inspiring stuff
Mm-hmm.
and so many book recommendations. I mean, I think she reads like 240 books a year and
Wow.
has her own podcast and all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But like just seeing those book recommendations and listening to some of her podcasts
Mhm.
and kind of like following that's the first one that comes to mind, like for a good starting point.
Okay, that's awesome. I think, again, back to individuality, you know, for some people, like having resources is inspiring
Mhm.
and helpful. For other people, it's like overwhelming.
Yeah.
And so I think being like, again, maybe the first step is like some level of self-awareness, whether that's like just reflection
Mhm.
or, you know, there are lots of good assessments out there too to help you know yourself better, which is a part of Steadfast strength coaching. And so then, yeah, to know like for 1,000 hours outside, like some of us who are like very achievement driven,
Yeah.
like it becomes another to do. You know, like those lines
Yeah.
get blurred so
Yeah.
quickly. And I think I was talking about this with another friend, like the mindset toward things is like so important because you can start down a trail of like, we want to spend more time outside. We know that sun is good for us. We want to be active. It's joyful. And then it somewhere along the way it gets like twisted into achievement and
Yeah.
like a to do. And then it's like, we're getting outside now, you know. I don't care what you want. You know, like that. I feel like sometimes that's how things go
Yeah.
in my house.
Yeah.
Like because I'm an achievement person. I like to achieve
Yeah.
things every day. If I set a goal, I want to meet it. So it's like,
Right.
we're doing this no matter what. And I become rigid instead of adaptable.
Yeah.
And I lose the missional focus. So I just say that because I need to check myself on those kinds of things, you know, but like, again, like don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, you know, like
Right.
just because you're maybe that kind of person or I'm that kind of person, like there is still a lot to be gained from, you know, 1,000 hours outside or,
Yeah.
so you guys tried it last year, right?
We've tried it 2 years now.
Okay.
And we have not hit 1,000.
Okay, great.
I mean, I try.
Yeah.
We're outside a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like,
But again, you're getting the spirit of it.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
To me, like any time outside is a win. And it's just more of a goal,
Yeah.
like to inspire us to get outside.
Yeah. Cool.
Because I mean, that's another form of self-care is being outside and just the benefits that you get from nature, from the sun, the fresh air. And it's just like so resetting for your system.
Yeah.
Even in cold weather, even when it's dark, even when it's hot and miserable and I don't like to be outside. Like,
I've noticed that this winter, I hate on the cold so much.
Yeah.
I'm like, I hate being here in the winter. Like, I'm the biggest Debbie Downer in winter here. But I've noticed that when the sun is out,
yeah,
like it doesn't matter if it's 30 degrees or
Right.
not. Like, I'm like, let's go. The sun is out.
Right.
You know, it's a huge difference. Okay. So, lots to talk about. Let's talk about some practical self-care things throughout your days, weeks. Like how have you incorporated things into your
Yeah.
rhythms?
So a few of my non-negotiables for self-care are getting outside, even if it's just for like 5 minutes.
a day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just trying, even
Yeah.
if it's rainy, whatever. I just need like 5 minutes to just step outside. Like,
Yeah. And so what is that for you? Is it like walking your kid to the bus stop or checking on the chickens? Like what
Yep.
are some different? Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I don't have chickens, so for me that's not what mine would
Taking
be.
the
But
trash out,
Yeah.
letting the dog out,
Yep.
walking a lap around your yard,
Yeah.
you know,
to the
anything.
mailbox and back.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. So for me, like I said, getting outside, getting a workout or some sort of movement in,
Yep.
and the gym has been such a huge part of my self-care and
Cool.
self-care journey. And this, go
Sorry.
ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, so that probably looks different every day with the kids.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And then another thing, and this might sound silly, but laundry.
Okay.
I have to do a load of laundry every day. I mean, I
Okay.
don't have to, but I feel better when I do.
Yep.
And having a clean kitchen at night.
Yeah. Yep.
Those are like my 4. Oh, and reading, 5.
Yeah. Okay.
I have 5 non-negotiables every
Yeah.
day.
Okay. So like someone could look at that and be like, she has to do her laundry in her kitchen. That's OCD, control freak. Like, what do you say to that?
I mean, if that's what you want to think of it as, that's fine, but that's what works for our family. I mean, we're a family of 5.
Yeah.
We're potty training right now.
Mm-hmm.
My husband works like crazy, weird shift hours and at a plant. So his clothes come home dirty.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's what we need to function.
Yeah.
And if I let it slip for a day because I'm feeling lazy or because I don't want to or whatever, it's going to make more work for me in the future.
Yeah.
And it's going to cause problems, not problems, but it'll cause more of a challenge for my husband, like having the right pants he needs to work.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, that's not self-care for me. I'm making more work for me
Yeah.
in the future.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of it as like cleaning the kitchen, doing laundry, like that's making my life easier for the next day.
Yeah.
That's a form of self-care.
Yep. Yep. I love that. Maybe we'll have to have my friend who's a therapist on someday to like hash through this with me and see if it's like actually healthy or not. But yeah, like if the kitchen is clean, or at least there's like disguise of order
Mhm.
in like our living room, kitchen area
Mhm.
when we go to bed. On the mornings that I'm not at the gym first thing in the morning, I can actually engage in some of my forms of self-care
Yes.
without distraction.
Yes.
If things are like orderly. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. Like, I don't
No.
think that's like an OCD thing. I think that like that's just a presence thing. Like,
Yeah.
I have to organize my environment a little bit to be able to be present.
Right.
And sometimes I have more control over that than other times. But when I have the opportunity to have control over it, I'm going to take it.
Even if it's just one surface, like, okay, I need a clear kitchen table.
Yeah.
Just so that when I walk past it, I'm not like, oh, look at all this stuff that I have to deal with.
Yeah. Because that distracts from like my alone time with the Lord. Like, because I have this just like mental burden or
Like if you're
load.
wanting to get up and read your Bible in the
Yeah.
morning and you walk out and you just see all this clutter on the counter.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, I need to take care of that.
Yeah.
Or you're sitting there like trying to focus on your Bible and it might just be like a distraction.
Yeah, like the bullets are coming in. Like, think of all these other things you
Yeah,
have to do
think of all
today.
the stuff that you're starting your day having to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Where if it's just taken care of, then it's like, okay, hi God. Let's
Yeah.
spend time together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. Okay. So you have your non-negotiables
Mhm.
that happen.
Mhm.
And then are there like bonus things on top of that that happen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm super blessed. My mom watches my kids, or my one kid that's at home right now, 1 day a week.
Cool.
So I have 1 day, like during working hours, where I can do anything.
Yeah. That's huge.
It's so cute.
Shout out to Hannah's mom. Wow.
It's so amazing. And it just helps balance like my regular life. I mean, my husband's hours are crazy sometimes. And so having 1 day that I know for sure that I can like get stuff done, or I can sit and read if I want to.
Yeah.
Uninterrupted.
Yeah.
I mean, I read when my kids are around, but it's different.
Yeah. Yep. Do you ever feel guilty, or did you feel guilty at first, or
I think at first, like because she did it while I was working too, just to like help with daycare and schedules and stuff. So I think at first I felt guilty because I'm like, well, I'm just at home.
yeah.
And then I started seeing it more like, okay, well, this is my opportunity. I can go do an appointment that I don't want to take my toddler to.
Right.
I can go meet a friend for coffee.
Yep.
Like that's a form of self-care.
Yep.
Engaging in relationships.
Yep.
Um,
Both of those, like
yeah.
following up on your appointments, you know, like
Right.
seeing the doctor regularly, going to the dentist regularly.
Yeah.
Like those things, I struggle with that.
I let it slip.
Yeah. Like, and
Yeah.
like anyone who like listens to like Dr. Jordan Peterson and things, like, you know, like treat yourself as someone like that you're taking care of, you know?
Right.
So like if I schedule these things for my kids, like
Right.
it's probably important for me too, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I struggle with that too.
Yeah.
So yeah, having that 1 day kind of like, okay, I can get this stuff scheduled. I can take a day, meet with friends, or half a day, or
Yeah.
whatever. And then I can still have time at home, or time to come to the gym, or
Yeah. Yeah. That's huge.
yeah. And then I feel like I'm more grounded and more present than with my kids
Yeah.
when I have that little bit of time.
Yeah.
You know, and some people might not get a whole day.
Yeah.
Or a half day or
Yeah.
whatever. But like if your husband works regular hours, or if you're both working, like you might have time together in the evenings.
Yeah.
And you might be able to get some stuff done then.
Yeah.
Or on the weekends, or
Yep. Yep. Yeah. We also have family nearby. I come from a big family. Andy comes from a big family, and they help a ton.
Mhm.
And when we're both the oldest in our family, so there were like seasons of life where like our siblings were in college and had
Yeah.
more flexibility and would come, you know, and
Mhm.
do all kinds of things for us, which was huge. But I know that there are a lot of people without those
Right.
support systems.
right.
And I think as our families have gotten busier and like have developed their own lives,
Mhm.
we don't have access to that easy, like, hey, coming out with your
Right.
niece and nephew, you know, or like my parents, like they still have kids at home, so they're still parenting.
Yeah.
But building a network of people around us, which again, I'm blessed through the gym because I have like access to lots of athletes, high
Yeah.
school students, middle
Yeah.
school students. But I've found it, and again, this is like another thing that like we're blessed because we have the financial provision to do it.
Mhm.
But like paying for someone to come watch the kids so that I can work out or
Mhm.
go on a date night. Like those things have become really important to me where it doesn't feel frivolous
Right.
to do that because I
Right.
see how important it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think building a network of support.
Yeah.
Alex and I forgot to talk about this when we did our podcast, but something we did this summer when she was on break from school is we carved out a couple hours in the morning and her kids came with me while she went and ran
Mhm.
or did what she needed to do. And then she watched my kids while I had an hour to go do what I wanted
Yeah.
to do. And I don't know why we don't lean on each other more like that.
Right. I don't know.
You know, like if it's I don't want to bother them or
Right.
I don't know what they have going on, but like a little bit of organization and
Yeah.
you free up a whole day for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, trading on and off with other moms. But-
Mhm.
Okay, so you get that day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to dig in a little bit more to like moms have a lot of different things. Like there's some who are stay-at-home moms, or some who are working moms, or some of us who call ourselves stay-at-home moms but have these other hustles and
But you're an entrepreneur, so you're still working.
Yeah. You know, like there's all these identities, but there's still this guilt of like, but I stay home. I don't.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm in my house.
Yeah. But there's like a lot happening, you
Yeah.
know? So I feel like we just can't compare like the different journeys because we're all expending energy, whether we're in a 9-to-5 job
Mhm.
or we're at home taking care of kids or whatever it is. Like
Mhm.
we have to fight for that self-care. So talk to me a little bit about the benefit of self-care. Like why is it such a priority? Why is it worth spending time and money and energy to make it happen?
For me personally, it makes me a nicer person.
Yeah.
I am less stressed. I am less worn out. You know, when your battery's drained, when your cup is empty, when you've spent all of your time and energy taking care of other people, like you need to refill that somehow.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
might not be a whole day, but it might be 5 minutes, but like it for me, it needs to happen.
Yeah.
Otherwise I get cranky, short-tempered.
Yeah.
I might not sleep as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think about and like I don't know if it's a word picture or an analogy or what it is, but like if your cup is empty, like we're always trying to refill it and get back to like this balance. But what if you were doing things out of the abundance? You know, like instead of emptying your cup and trying to refill
Right.
it, what if you're here,
right.
you overflow, you get back down to zero, overflow. Like what does life look like if you're not living out of the drain all the time?
That's a great analogy. I love that.
Yeah, you know, like
I never think about that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I don't want to be like drained all the time. I want to
Right.
be like
I don't
full
want
of
to end
life.
my day tired thinking, oh, I could have done this better. Oh, I could have spent more time doing this or
Yeah,
yeah.
but it takes like figuring out how to get like
Yeah.
who you are, what fills your cup, and then how are you going to make that happen?
Yeah.
Even little steps, like really little. Maybe it's 3 minutes of reading.
Right.
Maybe it's a walk outside to the trash can
Right.
all alone with a few deep breaths, you
Yes.
know?
Yeah. It makes me less cranky. I'm more of a patient person.
Yeah.
If I can get a few little tidbits of self-care throughout the day. And it sets a better example for my kids.
Mhm.
Like just setting that self-regulating example. Like I know that being around people is going to drain me and if we're going to an event, we're going to come home and I'm going to need like 5 minutes of space.
Uh-huh.
And my kids, I can already tell if some of them are the same way.
Yeah.
And so like helping them understand like, okay, this is why you're feeling that way.
And do you communicate that? Like, do you say those things to them?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if they're always
Right.
You
You can't control that, but
Right.
yeah. Yeah.
I try to explain to them, like, you're worn out from being around people or from going to a new place or whatever. Let's take 5 minutes and go to our room, even
Yeah.
if it's just like to change your clothes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or to,
Oh, that's good.
You know, like
Yeah.
just reset somehow.
Yeah. I tell my kids that too. Like, hey, I need a timeout for a second.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna go sit in my room for a couple minutes.
Mhm.
Like, you guys are fine. You can keep playing if you want. If you want to go to your room, you can. But this is a time that I need to reset. Like, and I didn't think about this when Andy and I were talking about it last night, but we were talking about like verbally explaining to our kids like what we're feeling. So that, you know, like when we're stressed or anxious about things, like not just being like, oh, it's okay. you know, because then kids are kind of like dysregulated by that, you
Yeah.
know, like, is it okay? Like they can sense things, you know? So instead of pretending like things are okay, like actually telling them,
Right.
like, I feel this way. This is how I'm going to handle it.
And like they
You know?
can't read your mind.
Yes.
Like I use this phrase with my oldest all the time. Like I can't read your mind.
Yeah.
You have to say it out loud. You have to tell me what you need.
Yeah. 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 So we have
They
to model
can't like
that.
it's a two-way. They can't read our minds, and I'm so bad about forgetting that. Like
Yeah. Yeah. That's really good.
I'm tired. I'm cranky. It's fine. Just go do something.
Yeah.
But it's like okay, no, I need to just stop for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Here's why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I feel that I'm becoming so aware of so many of my flaws watching my children.
They're
rank
great
me.
little mirrors.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, oh, you can't figure out what you want to wear to school today? Like, I was just having that same freak out in my closet alone a few minutes ago. Like, how am I going to handle this? You know, like those kinds of things. Yeah. I think it's so multifaceted, the self-care thing, because again, we're working out. So like they see those healthy, you know, like it's self-care, but it's also a healthy habit.
Yeah.
You know, they see us reading, you know, like for us, that's self-care, but it's also like intellectual health and growth and learn, like a love of learning. And some people don't like to read, you know, and so,
that might not be your self-care.
Yeah. It's we're just similar in that way, you know.
If you like to cook and they see you cooking, or if you like to, you know, garden or whatever. Yeah,
that's so good. And then it's the mindset of that too, you know, like how you talk about your things. And I think it's so good for them to hear us verbalizing, like, I'm doing this because this, you know, they pick up on that self-talk too. Yeah, we've been talking a lot about this self-care like journey really and what it looks like. We talked a little bit about the environment, and like for us, like kind of manipulating the environment a little bit helps set us up for some actual actions that we like to do, like reading or whatever, journaling. But can you talk a little bit more about the environment you create for your family that's like self-care to you, but also just like creates this peaceful presence or unhurried environment in your home?
Yeah. Another, like you had said, keeping the environment, keeping the clutter allows you to focus. I mean, it's the same for me. It's less distractions when you are in a room and it's like the walls aren't completely full of artwork and there's not clutter all over the tables.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe that's a personality thing. Like maybe for some people, it's like comforting to have that, and too much space is like, oh, I feel uncomfortable, you know? So that's probably like another self-awareness thing, like knowing where you feel peaceful and present. But for you, it's organized.
Yes.
Okay, so keep going. Yeah.
And keeping things, like for me, keeping things at a minimum. Yeah. I like to go through, especially after the holidays. So just the past few weeks, we've gone through our house and like just purge stuff. Yeah. You know, because the clutter not only takes up like the physical space, but it's taking up the mental space too. Because you're thinking about it, or you might not be thinking about it, but it's like, it's there. Yeah. You have to work to maintain it, you know? Yeah. I remember I kind of like when the whole Marie. What is her last name? Kondo, I think. Kondo, like thing was happening, and people are like getting rid of everything. I was like, I'm gonna need that for a random dress-up day in 5 years, and then I'm not gonna have it. You know, like I don't want to get rid of it. I had like this reaction to like, no, I'm not jumping on board with this. It's another trendy thing. But like I am also wired that way to like I want clean things. Like I want structure and organization. So when we moved this summer, I was adopting that mindset of like, it doesn't matter if we'll need it in 5 years. Like we can find it again, you know, like I don't need to hold on to this in case in 20 years my kids need it, you know, like we'll find it again. Or you'll make do with something else. And be creative some other way.
That's like a scarcity mindset to me. Like,
and I don't know if that's a personality thing or a generational thing.
Or like a socioeconomic thing. Like I think there's some that's like, I don't want to be wasteful, you know, or like. Well,
and in that case, and another person I follow, another great resource is Joshua Becker about minimalism and living with less. And, you know, you don't have to go extreme. Like some
Yeah.
people hear minimalism and they think like white walls and like nothing in your house.
Yeah.
And for a while it was like, oh, that's awesome. Like I want that. But that's just not practical.
Yeah.
You know,
Like, we
especially
have kids with artwork and like,
And like they have their own personalities too. Their rooms are going to be different. Their spaces are going to be different.
oh my gosh, can we talk about that for a second? Because
Sure.
my 4-year-old like is into like, she wants stickers on things and like,
Mhm.
do we just let it happen?
To an extent.
Okay, I need to get her a bulletin board, I think, because she wants to like put things up, you know. But it's like if
Oh.
you had a bulletin board to like put it on, that would be better than taping it to your bed, you
Yeah.
know. I don't know, but yeah,
Maybe.
like letting them.
Maybe.
Oh man,
I try not to. My firstborn is a lot like I am.
hmm
And so we communicate great that way. And his room is like how I would do it. And it's awesome. And so I think it takes a lot of self-awareness, like we were
Yeah.
talking about, like knowing like, okay, I can't control everything.
Yeah.
Like I want my kids to grow up and have their own personality.
yeah, and I
And their
think about
own
that.
space.
Yeah,
And understand like what they like and what they don't like. And sometimes I don't want to push my rage of how messy this room is
Yeah.
onto them and make them like,
yeah,
it's not going to help.
Yeah.
It's not going to go anywhere, especially with my middle child. She just is more of a free spirit.
Yeah.
And she loves her things.
yeah, Yeah.
And so
yeah,
her room looks a lot different than what I would do.
yeah,
And so we butt heads sometimes that way, but it's like, if it's in her room, if it's her area, like I try to give them a little bit more freedom.
that's good. And like, I'm trying to think too about the balance between, like, okay, here's a habit and a skill. Our dirty clothes go to the laundry room.
Right.
But like, oh, you want your stuffed animals lined up along the wall because that looks like orderly and cute and nice to you? Fine. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And setting boundaries too with like all of the artwork and the stickers and the paperwork and things, like sometimes they have a hard time letting go of that. It's like, okay, we'll keep it for this long, or we'll
Yeah.
put it in a box
Oh, that's good for this
for
one.
this long.
Yeah.
You can keep a couple pieces out.
Yeah.
And then after that, I also like to think of white space in our calendars and in our time.
Mm.
And my kids know this, like they don't do every single activity that gets sent home in their folder from school.
Okay. Like, are they extra activities or you mean like school activities? And stuff?
Extra. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes
Yeah.
we don't do some of the extra stuff for school.
Yeah.
It just depends on like what we've got going on at the
Yeah.
time. You
Yeah.
know, like I'm not going to overexert myself just so that they can do everything they want.
Yep.
And that might sound selfish
Yeah.
to
Well,
some people,
Yeah. Go
but
ahead.
like I don't want to model being stressed out and being like drug around, like driving places, being stressed out financially because of a million different sports that they're in.
Yeah.
You know, starting at like 3 or 4 years old, they
Yeah.
start bombarding you with all these
Yeah.
sports.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Like,
okay.
what am I modeling to them if I'm just spending my adult life shuffling them and sitting on bleachers?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a hard one because I hear people like they want to give their kids the world, right? We all
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And so for a lot of people that comes through like sports and activities
Mhm.
and you are like doing your best to give your kid all the opportunities in the world and love them.
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't know. That's like a tricky one. But like for you, it's like, we're not doing that.
Right.
I love you
Yeah.
so much that
Yeah.
we're gonna spend time together.
Like my oldest is 8. We don't need all of you doing 3 different sports.
Yeah.
Or 4 or 5
Yeah.
different, like year round.
Yeah.
Your job is not to grow up to go sit on the bleachers of your kids' athletic events.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like I love you and I will support you when you do that, but we're going to limit it.
Yeah.
Like,
And like those things have value to you, like the team aspects and
Yeah.
like, yeah.
yeah, I'm not, you know,
Yeah.
they're wonderful,
Yeah.
but also long term, I think there's more benefits to being outside,
Yeah.
playing like free play with friends
Yeah.
or exploring or whatever outside than there is to organize sports 5 nights a week.
Yeah. That's so, yeah. And so again, self-awareness, knowing who you are, knowing what your values are, and then keeping your mindset, whatever it is, like
Mhm.
focus on whatever it is, you know, like I think that sports can be one where it's like, okay, we want our kids to play sports because we want them to develop the athleticism. We want them to be healthy and active. We want them to learn all the values of sports, like teamwork and, like respecting coaches and other authority. And, like there's so many lessons in sports.
Right.
And then like somewhere along the way, like my kid's going to be a professional gymnast. And now I have to, it just like very quickly gets twisted.
Yeah.
Into like, is this really why we started doing what we were doing?
Right.
Like I think but if you don't take the time to like reflect, like then it's like you just keep running in the direction that you're running. And sometimes we end up in places that we never intended to end up in with lives that again are like, we spend every night on the bleachers and my kid's identity is in performance and all these things that like that's not where why we started this. And
I don't know the statistics, but like team sports and whatnot, long term, that's like point something that they're going to make a career out of it. Like let's work on building more well-rounded humans.
That's cool.
Than
that's good.
So much emphasis on all these sports or club sports or whatever.
That's
and not knocking anyone who does it. And if your kid loves it and you're into it,
then
that's
like
great.
build their passion and go for it.
Right. But for most kids,
and like with that, like I know moms whose kids are like so into it and they do it, but then like the mom like during practice like gets her self-care in, like she goes for a run or she reads and like they build their structures around those activities to be that like it's peaceful and relaxing for them or like their friends are there and that's their social environment. So it's like, it's not the drain that maybe it is to someone who's like very introverted and wants to be outside exploring and things like that,
I don't want to run myself ragged and be cranky and be short and not have time to get in things that recharge me or fill my cup. Because I'm taking them to all of their stuff. And also, I think knowing your kids is important too. Like, I know that my kids cannot handle it. At least not right now. I mean, like I said, my oldest is 8. They're young. We're not into super competitive stuff yet. And if it changes down the road, then we'll change. Seasons of life change.
That's really good though, because I think that like hearing you say like you are protecting yourself, like that's a hard thing for moms to do. Like it feels honorable and noble to sacrifice your life for your kids. But like, are you becoming the person that God created you to be? If you, and that's a hard thing too, because like we are to lay down our lives for others and we are to like be stewards of the things that we're given. So I don't know, like I think it's important to like optimize your life, like be who you're supposed to be. And then like out of that overflow, like pour into your kids and help them become who they're meant to be. I
don't want to model a cranky mom all the time. Because I'm spending all of my energy on other people. So for me personally, I know that about myself. And I know that they will not get the best version of me.
And I want my daughters to see like a woman who has hobbies and interests and is like a well-developed human.
I want them to grow up and know that like they can do fun stuff too. Like when you're a mom. And when you're an adult. Like you don't have to spend your life working. And then taking your kids to functions and then sleeping and then working. Like you get to do stuff too.
And like I can like honor my husband and still like have an identity, I feel like there are generations before us where like being a submissive wife meant like dying to everything that is you to serve them. And like, yes, are we to serve our husbands? Yes. Are we to die to ourselves? Yes. But like, I'm still me, and I think that God loves that and wants that. So just another thing that can get twisted. Okay. You said the word boundary earlier and that like piqued my interest. So do you have thoughts on boundaries that you could share?
So I think there's a couple different ways we can go with this. Like setting boundaries with my kids. Like when you were talking about taking a time out. Like just knowing when you need it and setting a boundary like, hey, I need 5 minutes where no one's touching me.
Yeah.
Because I need 5 minutes. Where
Yeah.
no one's like,
Yeah, and I
need to just respect that for a second.
Yeah, that's
And
a
I
good
want
way of
them
saying
to
that.
be
'Cause
able
sometimes
to-
I'm like, oh, stop it today. Like, okay, I let this go too far before I implemented my boundary.
Yeah. I am constantly working on that. But like, I want them to be able to understand that too.
Yeah.
You know, like, because kids have to learn that too. If a friend, especially in like younger elementary, like if a friend is too close or someone likes to hug and you don't want to be hugged, you have to be able to say like, hey,
Yeah.
I need you to
Space.
not do that.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah. Yep.
And so I think that's one way that we can help model is like, hey, I need 5 minutes to wash these dishes.
Yep.
Then we can play.
Yep.
Or here is a show. Here is a snack.
Yep.
You guys can play.
Yep.
I'm going to spend 25 minutes on the treadmill.
Yep. Yeah.
If you need something, you can come ask.
Yep.
But I might say no because I'm working out.
Yep. Yes.
You can wait 25 minutes.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
maybe not the 2-year-old,
Right.
but
Right.
we're still trying to like use those words,
Yeah.
have those conversations.
Yeah. I think that's, you know, I put my kids in front of the TV sometimes so that I can do stuff, you know, like, it's okay.
I mean,
I'm the expert. No.
what was our childhood like?
Yeah.
I mean, do you remember every single thing that your parents ever said to you?
No.
Do you remember every single day?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I think you can worry so much about the little stuff that you can kind of forget.
Yeah.
Like, hey, they're
Yeah.
going to turn out okay.
Yeah. They're going to be fine. Yeah.
Or they're going to turn out how God wants them to turn out.
Yeah. And yeah, like 25 minutes of screen time, an hour of screen time.
Right.
Like
Some days are really bad and it might be 2 hours.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's
yeah.
not the end of the world.
Right. Like, did everyone get what they needed in that time? Like,
Yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some days my kids just need to sit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some days they just need to not be talking to people.
Yeah.
There's some days I need that.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, if we watch a little bit of screen time, maybe we play a little Mario Kart against each other. My oldest is competitive. So it's like, it can be fun.
Yeah.
And it can be a good reset.
We're not going to dive into this right now because we're going to wrap it up soon, but like our kids self-care too, you know, like, like I feel like sometimes what I expect of my 4-year-old is so much more than what I expect of myself as a 35-year-old, you know, like, I'm not being fair in that way and like giving them what they need to refuel and reset. So anyhow, modeling it, talking about it, making it a priority is probably, you know, whether or not they realize that that's what they're doing, like helping them facilitate that is probably.
Yeah. They might not care about the word self-care.
Yeah.
Even if it's for us, they're
like,
okay, mom needs self-care.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what that is, but I get to watch a show. So cool. Like, I love self-care for mom. Let's do it. So to kind of bring it in for a landing, wrap things up, taking time for yourself, self-care is not selfish.
No.
Like, it's necessary.
Yes.
I think about the communication part of that. So we've talked a lot about telling our kids about it, but we haven't talked about like talking to our spouse about it. And as a stay-at-home mom, like it's hard for me to tell Andy when he's home from work, I need some time.
Right.
You know, like I don't want to be that mom that's like, oh, you're home, I'm gone.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't want that at all. But I think having conversations about it is helpful to start with. Like, I feel tired when you get home. I know you're tired when you get home. How can we each get 5 minutes of alone time here? And sometimes like I fail to communicate that. And I know that I would be a much better wife to Andy if I just had 5 minutes between like being the full-time parent for the kids and getting our whole family together, you know? And
they might not understand that.
Yeah.
Because they can't read minds either.
Yeah. Yeah. And I am the number one offender of thinking that everyone should be able to read my mind.
Yeah.
Most definitely Andy.
Right.
You know?
Like, you should tell by the expression on my face exactly what I'm thinking right now.
Yeah.
But they just don't.
They don't. Yeah.
That's not how, well, at least that's not how my husband works.
Yeah.
You know?
Anyone. I can't read it either, you know?
Yeah.
Like, we have different strengths, of course. Like, sometimes some of us are more intuitive, but anyhow, I think even if you don't know what you need to ask for,
Mhm.
like starting the conversation
Talking about it.
is like a good step, you know?
Yeah.
Is this something that we could work into our lives? Like, I want to start an exercise routine.
Mhm.
Could I have an hour on Saturday mornings? You know, how are like, yeah, having the conversation. How are we going to work this in? Like here at our gym, we have childcare on Saturday mornings.
Yeah.
So I feel like for moms, like we don't even have to depend on our
Right.
husbands, you know,
Right. Yeah.
for that. But you know, if Saturday mornings are a time that's usually quiet for your family, like
Mhm.
and family time, like that's worth talking about. So anyhow, it's not selfish, but communication is probably important
Mhm.
if you're stepping into this for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Figuring out ways to do it easily. I think
Yeah.
you've given a lot of examples of that, but
Yeah. I think starting the conversation. So
Yeah.
like starting with your closest circle.
Yeah.
You know, so like telling my husband what I need.
Yeah.
And we're different people. We have different personalities. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't need 5 minutes of alone time.
Yeah.
Or however many minutes of
Yeah.
alone time.
yeah,
Like I get touched out really easy.
yeah,
He does not.
yeah, yeah.
And so like kind of just understanding each other, talking about that.
But talking about it, and then like that's like ways that you're growing your relationship too, because
Yeah.
you're like getting to know each other
Yeah.
more, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. And then talking like to some friends or like maybe your next circle, finding some friends you could trade childcare with so you can start
Yeah.
working out or you can start going to a coffee shop and reading quietly
Yeah.
or
Yep.
whatever it may be.
Yep.
Or for me, I started like in the morning, my youngest gets up super early. We go sit and snuggle and I'll read
Yeah.
and he'll play or I'll turn on a show
Yeah. It doesn't matter.
and
It's
I'll
good.
sit and I'll read with him on my lap and, you know, just working it into your day in ways that work for you.
And I think working it into your day in ways that like are actually life-giving.
Yes.
Because I know for me, like I was scared to ask for help.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to take away from Andy's time or our time together.
Mhm.
So I felt like, okay, if I want to work out, I'm going to have to make sure that I'm up before everyone else,
Mhm.
no matter what, because I'm not going to put my kids in front of the TV, which now I do it all the time. I'm like, no, I'm going to sleep. They can watch a show while I ride my bike or whatever it is,
Right.
you know? But there was like a long, like 5 years of my life where I was like, I'm getting up. If I was coaching at 4:45, I'd be up at 4 to get my workout in, you know, like
Mhm.
just some things. Or like I couldn't ask for him for time on the weekend. So yeah, I would like pay babysitters to come during the week so that, you know, and
Because
like,
you felt like you had to have that time together on the weekend.
yeah, like I felt like I
Yeah.
couldn't ask him to help me get my self-care
Right.
in,
Yeah.
you know? So I think that going back to the communication piece, like it's super important
Mhm.
because like, yeah, like I think there are a lot of ways we can work it into our day, but if you're a working mom, like you're not working it into your day. So you need like either your mornings or your
Right.
evenings or your
Right.
weekend to do it.
Or like depending on what you're working, like your lunch hour.
yeah, or your lunch hour. Yeah.
Like I used to sit and I would go sit in a quiet room and I would read over my lunch hour.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my 1 hour of like
Yeah.
awesome
It's cool.
self-care in the middle of the day.
Yeah. Or like when I'm folding laundry, I like to listen to a podcast because I know that I need to be learning.
Yes.
Like I need
Yeah.
to learn. So like I want to listen to podcasts,
Mhm.
you know? So in that way, I'm finding ways to multitask. But again, like I let my mindset go so far down the self-care, like I need my time to work out,
Mhm.
that instead of taking a moment to pause and ask, like, what do I need right now?
Mhm.
I was so driven by my routines
Mhm.
and structures that I was getting up, not getting enough sleep. You know, like
Yeah.
self-care for me probably should have been sleeping an extra hour,
Right.
letting my kids watch
Right.
TV, but instead
Right.
I was sacrificing myself in the name of self-care
Mhm.
because I wasn't willing to communicate with those.
And
around
if
me.
something happened during that and messed up that routine, then it would go the other way.
Yeah.
And then you're mad about it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I went through that too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's hard
It
because
is.
you think you're doing the right thing and you probably are, like you're taking
To
steps
some
toward it.
degree.
Yeah. And so it's not like, boom, okay, now we've got the self-care thing figured out, you know,
Mhm.
it's a journey. of
And
like
every
figuring
day
it
is different.
out. Yeah.
Some days are great. Some days I get a workout in and my kids don't ask. Or some days I'm, at the gym and I have access to childcare.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful. And some days my self-care might be just making sure we have a clean kitchen after supper.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's good.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But I have to be living at a slow enough pace to know
Yeah.
and recognize
Yep.
it.
You have to be intentional about it. You have to slow down.
Yeah.
And you have to have that self-awareness.
Yeah,
Like,
self-awareness.
these are a few things that I need to function.
Yep. And what we've talked about for us might not be what it is for you,
Mhm.
but
Yeah,
figuring it
maybe
out.
you need to see people.
Yeah,
Maybe
Yeah.
that's your self-care. It's
Yeah.
getting out with friends.
brunch, you know,
Right.
yeah, something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't like to read, but maybe you like podcasts or
Yeah.
a show.
Yeah, a
You
show,
know?
yeah.
Or-
Or like I like scrolling and laughing sometimes, you
Yeah,
know? Like,
sometimes I just need a little bit of humor from some reels.
yeah, yeah, totally, totally. Yeah, and it could be like, oh, that mom's on her phone looking at social media. It's like, no, I'm self-caring right
Yeah.
now. Like, you know, or for some people it might be getting their nails done or, you
Right.
know, like there's a lot
Yeah.
of different ways it can go. But,
Yeah.
okay, so yeah, I'm gonna post some of Hannah's favorite books, tips for getting outside, resources, things like that, because she has a lot of them. But also, like, if you have ideas to share, we'd love to hear from you. So comment, post, share. Reviews are helpful too. So if you don't mind leaving a comment or review, if you listen, that would be super helpful.
And tag us.
Oh yeah, tag us
If
so
you're
we can
posting on
share.
social media,
Yeah.
and, you know, like tag us so we can see what you're doing for self-care.
Yeah, I would love that too. Yeah, so awesome. Okay, I'm so glad you guys got to hear from Hannah. We'll see you next time
It's a
on Steadfast Drink.
beautiful